All right, guys, we are live. It says one like, nobody here yet. All right, now it's saying we got somebody. There's Janie. How are you, Janie? What's up, Rick? How are you, buddy? Jesse, good. How are you? Jane, it's such a nice pleasure to see you tonight. Jesse and Rick, thank you guys for showing up. Stacy Mathis, how are you tonight? Hey, Claire, how are you? I'm well, thank you. Mega, how are you? I got some amazing lot lizard stories tonight. I've got some awesome Dogman and other experiences. This is appointment listening. Italian Rose, how are you? Robert Sharp, how are you, buddy? Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here, boy. Come here, boy. Tigger's in here. I'm going to try to get him up so he can say hi to everybody. Everybody wants to say hi to you, buddy. Come here. Come here. You want this? Come here, buddy. Come on. Let everybody see you. Come here. Oh, yeah. Oh, buddy. Let everybody see you. Say, hey, guys. Say, here I am. Oh, there's the buddy. There he is. He made his appearance tonight. You're such a good boy, huh? Hey, Just B, how are you? Wolf Moose Bear, how are you? Oh, you're a good boy. Happy. What's up, DC? How are you tonight? Zilla, how are you? Delirium. Hang on, I gotta let him out of the studio now. All right, go on, buddy. Be a good boy. Be a good boy. Donna Harmon, motorboat champion. Oh, hey, Liz, how are you tonight? He is such a good cat. Like my daughter's kitten, Apollo, who is about, I'd say, almost a year now, probably a year old. About 9-10 months, somewhere around there. And maybe a year. I'm not sure. The vet said he was 6 months in December, I think, when we got his shots. So in neutered. So he's about a year. And this cat will jump on Tigger, and Tigger will not like do anything to him. He just like gently baps him. I'm like, oh, he's such a good cat. Analog Oracle, how are you? What's up, 420 Tyler? Eric McDonald, how are you, buddy? Sniff it out. What's going on, Steve O? Every time I see Steve O outdoors, I think of Steve O. Just for like that split second. I'm like, Steve O. What's up, Wesley September? San Francisco Bay Wastewater Operative. How are you? Mr. Shacklenik. Rod Sterling is in the house with us tonight. What's up, Troy? Oh, Mr. Walsey. How are you? Simone from Down Under. How are you tonight? Do you have a Vegemite sandwich for me? Nicholas Carroll. How are you, buddy? Nick Hendricks. Gary Rosenquist. J. Bates. Good seeing you here, dear. Danny Sanders. What's going on, brother? I come from the land down under. Da, 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 da. Hippie Gypsy Girl, how are you? Yes, it started about 5 minutes ago. So We haven't done anything yet. Don't worry, dear. We're good. What's up, JP? JP? Hey, Simone, does that have to, do they sell Vegemite like mayonnaise? Mayonnaise it sits on the shopping, like on the market's shelf. My brain just shut off. On the shelf where the condiments are. Does it have to be refrigerated after opening or the whole time? 3 Cat Mom, how are you? James Kaufman, how are you? Ocean Cat? No, it doesn't. Okay. And it tastes like butter? Is that what I've heard? Is people tell me it tastes like butter. Sabrina Johnson, how are you tonight? From Louisiana. Ooh, I like chocolate chip cookies. No. Can you give me a taste, or not a taste, but a hint of what it tastes like, please? I'm doing well, James Kaufman. Every time I see James Kaufman, like Steve-O, I think of Steve-O. But when I see James Kaufman's name, I think of Andy Kaufman. I don't know why. I'm fucking weird like that. It's salty tasting. Port Chester. Port Chester, that's in Western New York, Andy Spatz? Is that over in the Great Lake region? Truth in Christ, how are you tonight? Sonia, how are you? SDL, how are you? It tastes like dog poop smells. Delirium, you're from down under too, so that I guess you would know. Adam Condon, how are you? I think I said hi to Neck, but I'm going to say hi again. Neck, what's up, brother? Larry Leto, Fort Myers, Florida. Frank Morris, Jordan, or Jordy. Andy Davis, how are you, brother? Thank you. I appreciate that. Zilla, thank you so much. Truly appreciate that. Truly, truly appreciate that. So my godmother was a fantastic woman. Wow. And growing up as the only kid, at like a certain age, I became, what's that called, a latchkey kid, where I had my own little key. I think I was like 10 or 11. But prior to that, I had to stay at her house when I was little. And she was just such a wonderful person. When her husband, my godfather, passed away, he was a mechanic. He literally fixed everybody's car in South Glens Falls from 1960 to 1990. Self-made guy, dropped out of school at 14, went in, started doing mechanics, went into the military, went to World War II, and then just worked his nuts off to support his family. And then Lois was his wife, just beautiful woman, amazing. So Jim, being a mechanic, they had him cremated, and they put his ashes in an old oil can, 1950s oil can. And Lois was just lost without him. And when she passed, because she baked a lot, she was a fantastic baker, they found an old 1950s Crisco can that was actually tin, very hard steel, whatever, not the kind that you can get now. They put her ashes in there, and then after everything, they mixed them and then put them in the Veterans Memorial. So it was good. It was good. Black Queen Jax, thank you for the gifting, somebody. I appreciate that. Truly do. Couch Potato, how are you? Kakalina, Couch Potato, Couch Tater. What's up, Jim Baker? Richard Minnick, how are you, brother? Nicholas Carroll back in San Diego. Nice. That's all. Lindman, how are you, brother? Thank you so much. Appreciate you. I would love a long format Dogman. Theory X Wild Verse. Hang on 1 second. X Wild Verse. With all your recent uploads and info, I would love a long format video of your theory encompassing Dogman, Theory, X, Wild, Verse. Consider that done. Consider that done. I will work on that this week. Probably, let's shoot for a Wednesday. I will have that because I'll sit down and really bust it out for you. All right, brother? Erica Danforth, thank you so much. Guys, you are awesome. Make sure I didn't miss anybody. What's up, DB Mac? How are you, brother? Jeb Girth Brooks is back in the house for the night. Haven't seen you in a couple weeks. How are you? Jeb Smith, Kyle 83. Just got gifted a membership by Winter Sky. Thank you very much, Winter. Joseph Cannon, how are you? Thank you very much, my friend. So I have some awesome, I think I outdid myself on the lot lizard experiences tonight. But I have some really awesome experiences tonight that I compiled. Pretty happy with what's going on tonight, and I hope that you guys enjoy this live stream as much as I enjoy sharing it with you. Rhonda, how are you? I apologize. Well, Jeff Burrell, I'm glad that you're here with us. Thank you. Jay, what's going on, brother? I will smoke that, DB Mac. Life and Times, thank you. Oh, man, I appreciate that, Life and Times. Thank you very much. All right, let's start this night off. Peter North and Melissa Davis. How are you, ladies? Claire Harris, I did say hi to you. 175 Hydro. Paul RC. Aaron Gray. All right, here we go. Get myself situated here. This happened to me in January of 2014 on the back roads in northeastern Arkansas. At the time, I was a newspaper delivery driver. I picked up my papers from the press, usually at 12:15, and it was a 45-minute drive to get to the start of my route. At the time, I was a cigarette smoker, so after I bagged up enough newspapers to sustain my route for a while, I'd light up a smoke, roll the window down. Being cold, I tried to keep it up as much as possible because back then my car didn't have any heat. There's a really long stretch of gravel road called Old Military Road. And on the left side of the road, there are mostly houses. On the right, it's fence posts and open pastures with barns and troughs for horses and cows. This is in the middle of bumfuck nowhere. There are no street lights. Some people have floodlights in their yard, so I'm driving along with my windows down, smoking a cigarette. 2:30 a.m. I began smelling a combination of burnt hair and filthy fecal matter. But one is also the other. It isn't a great smell. I toss my cigarette out and roll the window up, but I can still smell that awful smell, whatever it is. The further I go down this road, the worse its smell gets. Usually I see some cows sleeping outside or horses chilling sometimes, but nothing tonight. So I know that I am not the only one that picked up on something being weird this night. As I'm coming up the fork in the road, I have to take a left. There is a big open field. To the far right, I see what looks like a man with a deer-like head. It was too dark for me to tell whether it was a man wearing a deer skull or an actual human/deer cross, but it was definitely the source of that stink. It scared the shit out of me. I didn't want to hang out long enough to figure out exactly what it was. To my perception, he was at shoulder height 7 feet. The head probably added another foot. I don't know, but it was massive. They were definitely deer antlers, and the smell was disgusting. I saw him stretch his arms. Imagine flexing your arms and chest to make a wide C with your arms. His movement for 2 or 3 seconds. I saw him look to be human. I found a new job later that January and started in February. I was not interested in ever being out in that area again. Other weird shit did happen that year in that job, but that was definitely the weirdest, creepy deer man. Let's never meet again. So I don't know if you guys ever caught the deer. There's a deer man of Canada, and there's an actual like whole website designed by this kid that lives in this town. I forget where it is in Canada, but like a priest saw it. Law enforcement, a few law enforcement officers saw it. Teachers saw it. You know, pretty much a good portion of this small, really small rural community in Canada saw this thing. And it's not a skinwalker or a Wendigo. It's something different than that. It may be a shapeshifter. But this one, it just seemed to walk through the woods. It never messed with anybody. It never did anything to, you know, like we hear of Bigfoot or Dogman walking up to people's windows and such. It didn't do anything like that. It just literally, the day the priest saw it, he was getting up, or not a priest, it was a pastor, excuse me, because he was married. He had gotten up and he was having a cup of coffee with his wife in his kitchen, and he happened to look out the window. Now the kitchen was in the back of the house, so it overlooked the backyard. And he saw walking through his field this human-like deer thing. Strangely enough, a lot of people saw it centered around the railroad tracks in this really rural town. It's just an interesting story. What's up, Pop 7? How are you, dearie? You're not late. You're right on time. Don't you worry about that. Cynthia, how are you? The battle. Send me the information. I'd like to hear it. I saw a Dogman myself. I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. Jonathan Roberts, what's going on? Well, I didn't know it was 421 BB because your name says the battle. And I'm definitely not your son. Unless you had me at a very early age. How are you? I forgot, Eli. I forgot. And for some reason, I don't know. For some reason, YouTube does that. Like if people are watching, it'll pop up like it'll give you different avatars or different names if you've had different accounts with a different name at one time in the same email. I guess I don't really know how it works. I wish I knew how the YouTube algorithm worked, but I don't, unfortunately. There was an encounter here in Farmington long ago at a college by the river called the Sandy River. Of course, I'm in the... Farmington. Where's Farmington, Erica Danforth? Pops, thank you so much, dear. How are you tonight? Are you doing better? I think you can change it, Battle. I'm not sure. Or 421 BB. Oh, in Maine. Okay. Farmington. Where's Farmington in relation to like... I'm trying to think. Is that by like Lewiston, Maine? I'm glad that you're having a good night, Pops. I'm gonna try to find out about that. Send me a little information on that. I'll look into it too. Farmington, where the fuck is Farmington? One of the coolest things I ever did when I was young was I was 17. I was just turning 17, and I left Bernard, Maine, which is in Mount Desert Island. Bernard is on the back side of Mount Desert Island. Bar Harbor is on the front side. So I left the island, and instead of catching a bus, I hitchhiked from Ellsworth, Maine, all the way across the state of Maine into Mexico, Maine, then into New Hampshire, Vermont, all the way down Vermont, into New York, and then to my house. It was the coolest time I ever had. It was very interesting. Hi, 3Cat Mom. I did say hi to you earlier. Tommy, how are you? Jersey Nightcat, what's going on, dear? Is it me or is the freaking chat humming along? Aramaic, what's going on, bro? Trisha Ann, how are you? I will in a little bit, COVID. I will in a little bit. Roxy Obama. The only person that I know is Victor and a few other people that I've spoke with that worked with Victor. Work, that is. You're at work tonight, Aramek? What's going up, Mr. Rollins? How are you? Ryu. Arugan. What's going on, Tommy? Thank you very much, dearie. I believe I was confronted by an angel. I lived in a townhouse with my parents and older brother. My parents slept in the living room, and my brother and I each had our own room upstairs. On this particular evening, I was dealing with intense pain from a gallstone lodged in my bile duct. I told my parents over and over that something was wrong, and they chalked it up with just being constipation. They would get pissed if I woke them up in the middle of the night, so I quietly sobbed, sitting on my bed alone with my door slightly cracked, hoping they would hear me and actually care this time. I cried for what seemed like a while. I had my hands over my eyes and just sat there, bent over my knees, sobbing, begging any god to take this pain away. And suddenly, I felt something sit on my bed next to me. I know I heard it. I could hear the blankets pulling and stretching the way they do when someone sits on a soft mattress. I felt the bed sink next to me. In the exact moment, the pain literally melted away. I felt a level of peace that I had never felt before. Kind of like when you lay on your belly or lay on your bed finally after a long day of hard physical labor, but multiplied by 1,000. I had never felt or experienced anything like that before or since, but it was something I will never forget. I believe someone or something sensed I had no one and that I needed comfort. I am not religious, but I imagine this is what it would feel like if God sent an angel down to comfort me during one of my hardest times of my life. You will have definitely harder times, but that is quite possibly an act of kindness by God. Some fucking asshole parents, though, right, Aramek? I agree. Dude, my daughter's crying about her stomach hurting, and I'm going to be like, hey, are you all right, babe? Tommy, I appreciate you. I really do. Thank you so much. I don't know. I could never, ever, especially if, like, you're in pain, like shit. Come on. Not that you're constipated. That is so wrong. Yeah, I know. That's crazy. I didn't know gallstones get stuck in your... Larry, is it? I know it's a whole different scenario, but the only thing that I'm thinking of is like, you know, the tonsil stones when they get caught in your tonsil and they've got to pop out. That's what I imagine would be. Am I a Bigfoot believer? Absolutely. I wouldn't be doing this channel if I didn't believe in this stuff. Actually, I don't believe. I know this stuff is out there. I would definitely not do this channel. Eli, thank you so much, brother. Appreciate you. See you in a little bit, Andy. Come back, all right? Got a ton of rain. I sent Caden pictures. Woke up this morning. Tornado warning. I heard about the tornado warnings in Kentucky, actually. Well, I didn't hear about them. I read about them. I hope you're safe. Rod, you mean Tom Mezek? I go up there constantly, actually. I'm always going up there every summer. In spring, I got to be going up there real soon. Yeah, we have no snow, guys. All our snow is gone. $20 is a $20. There you go, DB Mac. Sean, you still have a lot down there? Dang. It's 49 right now. It's 49 and it's 12:22. So I think I'm praying that winter is over because I cannot, like, my hands, I don't know if you can see my hands, but like they are cracked and bleeding. They bled all winter. And no matter what I put on them, like that green O'Henry's or O'Reilly's or whatever that shit is, I got like 8 different lotions. And if someone came in the studio and saw all the lotions, they'd be like, what are you, some sort of whacking freak? And I'd be like, my hands hurt real bad. Cynthia, thank you so much. What the fuck? Get a muffler. Christ, it doesn't sound like a sports car. You don't need to beat on her. Yeah, I know. 21st, right? 21st. Oh, I do. I have bag bomb, actually. Look at this little fucker. I got a little fella a bag bomb. Just a little bit of baby bag bomb. Look like a bit. I really been actually, me, Isabel, and her boyfriend went and played basketball yesterday. And it felt so good just to get outside for a little bit. It was just fantastic. Aquaphor is good too. Dude, you need a muffler. The guy is literally like revving his car. He's going, bah, 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 bah. Like, you can tell he's fucking around. Like, obviously, people, like, if they're in a hard predicament, they can't afford a muffler because mufflers are fucking expensive sometimes. But this guy's like rev limiting that motherfucker. And it's like, dit, 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 dit. I hope it fucking just blows the rest of his muffler off. Fucker. Anyway, sorry. So I woke up at dawn because I was thirsty. I grabbed a water bottle to my head and opened my eyes to see a tall, skinny entity standing near my door bathroom. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate the love. It was about 7 feet in height, white, extremely skinny, with a narrow chest and waist. I could see its ribs and the bones on its elongated arms, which were sort of bent at an angle. I didn't see its feet or legs, but it did have the head of an anteater with beady black eyes. Somehow, I did not feel threatened or anxious. It felt like it was just supposed to be there. I remember keeping my water bottle away and falling asleep. Waking up for work, I remembered the event and immediately wrote it down. The weirdest part is that I didn't see it. I would describe it as seeing a red car and then trying to tell somebody else about it an hour later. I can see the car. I knew I saw it, but I didn't physically experience seeing. It's extremely difficult to explain. And it shouldn't be. One of the things I do for a living is write copy and captions for marketing material. I can't describe this. It feels so strange thinking about it now. I get the strange taste in my mouth whenever I think of this memory. Some said that it may be a line with alien abductions, and someone else mentioned their husband saw it earlier. I don't know what it is. Can someone please help me figure out? For the record, I do not smoke, drink, or do drugs. I am 25 years old, healthy male. I live alone. Nothing special going on in my life. Ha ha! He had Lizzo, the lot lizard, at his house. What is a Wendigo? Wendigo is traditionally creepypasta Wendigo or Native American Wendigo is a First Nation, usually northern First Nation, like northern New York, Mohawk, Huron, all of the above First Nations. And supposedly the lore of the Wendigo is if you and I are brothers, sister and brother, and I walk out, we are lost in the woods, and I kill you and I eat from your flesh. I have desecrated your body, and then therefore a bad omen, the Wendigo, comes and inhabits me. I then can turn. There's 3 different variations in my Native American culture, which I have family that lives in Hogansburg, which is the Akwesasne Reservation, which is part of Canada, part of New York. So it can be a mist, it can be an emaciated human being, or there is a depiction of it as a white, large, hulking creature with a long kind of tail. There's no deer. It's not a deer with an antler. That's creepypasta. That's fucking Hollywood. That's fake. But when you do the worst atrocious crime to a family member is when it supposedly happens. Skunk apes are Bigfoot. Hi, Ann Grace. How are you? And welcome to the live. What's up, Kevin Strover? How are you, brother? I don't know if it's a shapeshifter more or so, Aramik. It's more or less lore. Loveland Frog. I would rather see the Loveland Frog. I think it because it's not, once it's in that state, it doesn't like the skin, or not skinwalker, the Rougarou in Creole lore. It can either be multiple things. It is a shapeshifter 100% through and through. And I actually, because I was really interested, and people were like, a couple of years ago, people were saying it's this, it's that. It's the dog man's retarded half cousin. It's this and that. And I'm like, no, I got to figure it out. New Orleans has a Rougarou society. Like, it's an actual society dedicated to the lore of the Rougarou. And that is eventually transformed into half human, half man, or half human, half dog, half human, half alligator, a black mist, and a couple of other very strange things as well. But that's a really cool. They have a whole parade dedicated to the Rougarou. No comment, Jim Baker, on that. What's up, Enki? How are you? Savage Lunatic, what's going on? Yeah, you know it, Jim. You know, we still haven't gotten an update. Lisa Sparkman, how are you? We still haven't gotten an update on the woman out of Castiello County, Colorado, and that happened the 27th of January, that attack. That's a strange one. Yeah, they definitely don't have antlers, Zilla. They definitely don't. Marcy Elwood from the Catskills. How are you? Beautiful area down there. Costello County, in Colorado, Girth. Absolutely, Paul. Absolutely. Bobby Yuntz, how are you? Central Florida. See, a lot of people, I like when people are from different areas like me, because like people think Florida and they think beaches, right? People hear New York and they think New York City. They don't think of the Adirondacks. Instantly, mountains don't pop in your head when you think New York. Just like Florida, you don't think Central Florida like fields and farms and crops and swamps and cool shit. What do I think about Mel's Hole? I did a couple of videos on it. I'm really not sure what to think about it. Part of me thinks that it may be like a portal, a tunnel somewhere to, an deep underground military base. Might be a creepypasta. I'm not really sure. There's a lot of weird shit that goes around the Mel's Hole. There's not a whole lot of information. You know what I mean? So it's kind of hard to figure out on that one. But it is a very cool story. I'd like to speak to somebody that's actually been there 100%, that can validate it, that's truly been there. I have no idea. I bet you Mel's Hole smells like a little bit of funk. I bet you it does. A little bit of sweat, like swamp ass. Yeah, I have a friend that does true crime podcasts, and he talks about the homeless being hunted in cities, but not by creatures. So after some research, I've found multiple things. I've begun seeing similarities and such and such. The creature is a tall and inky black colored humanoid creature. Its legs having two joints like that of a dinosaur. It seems to lack arms, but has visible shoulders. Its most noticeable and iconic feature is that it has two orange glowing eyes. In almost all of the reports, it seems the creature is light absorbent, as when the light is flashed toward the creature, the light does not shine on its body. Its behavior is somewhat like that of a distant or ominous stalker. In reports I have seen, alone, in pairs, in groups, just standing, constantly watching. They're talking about the crawler, not the crawler that we call the crawler, but anyway, I'll tell you in a second here. Standing, constantly watching. being observant, like they are intrigued at our existence and are studying us. But the weirdest thing that has been reported is that once you are on the verge of being out of sight or you are getting too close to the creature, it seems to fade into nothingness, possibly because of its incredible black and non-light reflecting skin. It can just close its eyes and disappear into the darkness. But that is an assumption. Behavior, appearance being explained. We can go on the next part, which will include my experience with this creature. September 28th, 2015, rural southeast Oklahoma. It was a harvest moon that year. The moon was full and glowing a dull orangish yellow. I was a kid, and since I was not told of why the moon was glowing orange, I was afraid. My dad, being the best dad in the world, decided that the best way to cure my fear was to drive me out to the pasture to go spotlighting. It was not, but about 6 minutes into our drive, I noticed about 4 or 5 glowing eyes near the tree line. I told my dad to point the spotlight over there, but when he did, there was nothing there, just black night. My dad played it off as coyote, just lying out of sight because he knew I was already afraid. So after that, we made it to the end of the pasture, turned around and passed the same place, and they were all gone. We hadn't been away for only a couple of minutes. I don't like this. Stupid. Not stupid, but it was just lacking information, and it didn't even say what the creature was, so I apologize. 41 minutes. Almost time for a lot lizard story. Gun, how are you? That's an interesting name. Have you ever heard of the Palmyra? Yes. There's a lot. Earl, thank you, brother. Appreciate you. The Palmyra main story, there's a lot that goes with that is not talked about. The people, I know a person that met them. Actually, they were accused of selling weed for the longest time. And they weren't taken serious by any of the neighbors for quite a long time. And afterward, they did end up moving out of the area. But it's a very interesting and terrifying experience. I do believe it happened 100%. I just feel bad for the couple and the kids because, out of assumptions that people made, and they weren't believed, which is bullshit. A little backstory. I have always had weird experiences, be it ghosts or strange animals. It just always seems to follow me and my family. We had just recently moved into an old farmhouse just off of a main road. The house comes with 88 acres of land. Oh, I read this last week. Fuck. I'm going to read it anyway. 88 acres of land, and only 4 people live on the land near us. When we first moved in, nothing abnormal happened. It was just a small, out-of-the-way house that seemed like a new start for all of us. After a month of us living here, we started hearing strange noises outside at night, but nothing too serious. One night, we decided to have a fire and get drunk. Well, me and a few other guys that were there that night decided to do some night fishing. While fishing in the pond that was maybe a mile into the woods, we start hearing screaming. We just think it was one of the girls back at the house, so we head back. But on our way back, we start noticing there is no more sounds. No sounds of nature, no birds, no crickets, nothing. So we stop to listen. As we do this, we hear sounds of chains rushing toward us. It is getting maybe 15 feet from us. I point a gun at where I think the sound is coming at. I fire a shot at the ground. After a minute passes, the chains rush to the house. Nothing happened after that until we go inside and start going to bed. We all hear a female scream again, but behind it, there is a deep, distorted laugh. After that, nothing happened until 3 weeks later, and my dad goes fishing. Me and my dad go fishing out in the pond late afternoon. As it inches closer towards dusk, we notice three pale white humanoid creatures on the opposite side of the pond. But as soon as we notice these things, they run. Instead of running on all fours like normal, they stand up and run on their hind legs and jump 8 feet into a tree and hop from tree to tree away. As we see this, we decide to head back home. On the way back, we start hearing the trees rustling and getting closer and closer. We get to our house and lock the doors. I decide to set up cams in the woods and around the house. At first, I don't get anything, just deer and wolf. Until one night, on the cam close to the house, nothing really came of that until this night. After a long day of work, I decided to play a video game with a few friends. 11 at night, I hear 2 taps. I ignore it, thinking it's just a game. It continues till 2 in the morning. Periodically, every 5 minutes, 2 consecutive taps would happen. I finally take the headphones off and I hear it at my window. When I look out, I see orange eyes 7 feet off the ground. After 2 minutes of staring at each other, it moved closer to the window and smiled at me with bloodstained dagger-like teeth. Its face looked like a pale wolf-like face with decay along the sides of its head and neck. After doing this, it backs away and leaves. Now, every night, something happens. Like tonight, I am writing this. It rushed onto the porch and clawed at the door. As doing this, it was bellowing out a laugh that almost sounded like a deranged madman crossed with a hyena. Is it time, guys? Is it time for the greatest part of? Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It definitely likes to scare these. I think a lot of people don't realize, like, there are dogmen attacks, right? There are people who have been killed by dogmen. They have attacked. Just like Bigfoot. Bigfoot is not our friendly fucking hairy neighbor that lives in the woods. They are very aggressive and very dangerous. I can give one of the worst graphic experiences ever that I've ever heard from Tim Baker about Bigfoot. When everybody says, "Oh, Bigfoot are nice. They never hurt humans." That's not true. Crawlers. But it seems like all of these creatures like to torment and scare us more than hurt us. Yes, there are those rogue few that do fuck us up. But it's almost like they are nightmare fuel. You know what I mean? I think it's funny. I think they do. I agree. Jeff, sounds like you are talking about women. No, I'm not. So, all right, I'll just share it quick, and then we'll jump into the lot lizard story. Tim Baker. Thomas, thank you very much. The difference between creepypasta and horror fiction novel. They're the same. Fiction is creepypasta. Wait, fiction? Is fiction true? Nonfiction. Nonfiction is true. Fiction is fake. Creepypasta is fake. Creepypasta is just a fake story. That's all it is. It's a story created by, so it's a short story. Authors. All right, so Tim Baker and I were talking one night. We had shot the shit for like 10 hours. We were like, I don't know, it was our first night we ever talked, and we hit it off. So I made the statement about the couple at Lover's Lane, because I had heard the story about the couple at Lover's Lane in like Wisconsin that had been attacked by a pack of dogmen. And like the couple were getting it on, and all of a sudden this pack of dogmen came and tore apart the girl and the guy, and they left. And that's not how the experience happened. Tim Baker actually talked to the woman. She no longer lives in the United States anymore. She said, "I'm out of here. I don't want to live here anymore." The guy and the girl, they're at Lover's Lane or some little off area, and they're having intimate intercourse. All of a sudden they hear this noise and they are encircled by a small group of Bigfoot. Now, the guy and the girl separate and they're both standing there completely nude. And all of a sudden, the Bigfoot kind of pushes the girl, like hits her, and she falls to the ground. And these Bigfoot violate the man for some reason. They go to town on his booter. He dies, obviously. You know, it's like, you know, you're going to die. So she is unharmed. They do not bother her. They do not touch her. And she immediately leaves the country after sharing. But Tim Baker talked to her. And now my thing on that is I was thinking about this that night. And I said, dude, what if the Bigfoot, just like monkeys and chimpanzees and all of these other, you know, primates, you know, like a chimpanzee, if they attack a human man, they will rip our nuts off. You know, they like to like really hurt us men, obviously women as well, but you know, they will take our maleness from us. What if they did that to like show their of like feel good, touch your booter, but like an act of dominance they did that to the thing. That's just terrible. But you know what I mean? Like, what if you know, like, I've heard stories of orangutans. There's an orangutan village. It's like a sanctuary for orangutans in Africa. And this guy had actually, me and Tim Baker in an upload that I did with Tim, we talked about this. These guys went in there to rescue a fellow worker, and they had gotten to him, but they had literally tore this guy's junk off and put it in his mouth like he was dead. And as they got him, they put him in the truck, and they were driving out and they attacked the truck. They actually had flipped the truck. So, I mean, it makes sense. These things are very similar to primates. So why wouldn't they show, you know, a man has dominance, so they're going to show their dominance to this man. So I don't know. It's just my idea. Probably stupid, but all right. So I've got one with Earl and I've got one with Lizzo. No, we're going to do this one. We're doing this one. All right. This is our first fictional. This is not a real story, guys. I have to let anybody know this is not real. This is fake. I wrote this for the fun part of for our live stream. Here we go. Okay, buckle up, Buttercup. This one's a wild ride of Route 666, where the pavement ends and the weird begins. Nas X, little Nas X, when he felt fancy, which wasn't often, dealing with truckers smelling of diesel and desperation, wasn't your average lot lizard. For starters, he was a he, and damn proud of it. He worked at the Oasis, a truck stop so far out in the Nevada desert, even the tumbleweeds needed GPS. But Nas X had a secret, a scaly, cold-blooded secret that kept him fed and the local trucker population thinner than usual. Nas X was a shapeshifter. Not just a fake-it-till-you-make-it kind of shapeshifter that every hustler learns. No, Nas X could morph, bones and all, into a 7-foot-tall reptilian humanoid. Think lizard lady wrestling champion. with emerald scales, razor claws, a forked tongue that could taste fear from miles away. He wasn't born this way, of course. It was a family curse or blessing, depending on how you looked at it. His grandma, bless her heart, cold-hearted heart, always said, "Honey, use what you got." And if what you got includes the ability to turn into a man-eating reptile, you better damn well use it. Most nights, Nas X was just Nas, hustling for gas money and maybe a new pair of rhinestone-studded cowboy boots. He strutted around the Oasis in ripped jeans, a glittery crop top, and enough sass to curdle milk. He knew which truckers were lonely, which ones were flush with cash, and which ones were ripe. See, little Nas X's lizard form needed sustenance. And while he tried hot dogs at gas stations, sushi, nothing beat the rich, salty flavor of pure, unadulterated trucker fear. One night, Earl, a trucker built like a refrigerator and smelling faintly of stale cheese puffs, caught little Nas X's eyes. Earl was bragging about his haul, waving around a wad of cash big enough to choke a lizard. Perfect. "Hey, handsome," little Nas X purred, batting his ridiculously long eyelashes. "You look like you could use a little company." Earl predictably took the bait. He followed little Nas X into the Oasis toward the endless black expanse of the desert. The air crackled with anticipation. "So, what's a pretty little thing like you doing out here?" Earl slurred, already reaching for his. Little Nas X smiled, a genuine, toothy, slightly unsettling smile. "Waiting for my dinner." That's when the transformation started. Little Nas X's bones cracked and shifted. His skin shimmered and hardened, and his clothes ripped apart in a shower of glitter and denim. Earl's eyes widened in horror as the shimmering emerald-scaled monstrosity towered over him. "What in holy?" Earl managed before little Nas X, in his full reptilian glory, let out a shriek that echoed across the desert. Now, here's where the funny part comes in. Little Nas X, despite being a fearsome predator, was also incredibly vain. He lunged for Earl, caught a glimpse of his reflection in the chrome bumper of Earl's rig. "Ugh!" he shrieked, more annoyed than ferocious. "My scales, they're looking dull tonight." Earl seized the opportunity, scrambling back to his truck and slamming the door and locking it. He fumbled with his keys, his hands shaking so badly he could barely get them in the ignition. Little Nas X, still fuming about his lacklustered scales, pounded on the door. "Come on, Earl, don't you be rude. I haven't told you about my skincare routine." Earl finally got the engine started and peeled out of the Oasis, leaving a trail of dust and terror. Little Nas X watched him go, shaking his reptilian head. "Honestly," he mumbled, shifting back to his human form, "some people have no appreciation for good exfoliating treatment." Back at the Oasis, little Nas X shrugged on a spare crop top, thank God for backup wardrobe, and headed back to the bar. He ordered a shot of tequila, wincing at the taste. Man-eating was hungry work, but it did wonders for the complexion. The Oasis wasn't exactly a five-star establishment, but it was home, and besides, there were always more truckers rolling in. Little Nas X knew the desert had a way of keeping people in its clutches, one way or another. He winked at the bartender, a grizzled old woman named Agnes, who had seen it all. Another night, another close call. Agnes? Agnes just chuckled, polishing a glass with a rag. "Just be careful out there, little Nazi. Don't want you ended up as roadkill." Little Nas X laughed, a high-pitched, slightly maniac sound. "Oh, Agnes, honey, I am roadkill." And as the neon sign of the Oasis flickered against the dark desert sky, little Nas X knew one more thing for sure. The road ahead was going to be long, strange, and probably involve a lot more lizard skin moisturizer, and he wouldn't have it any other way. Dark Waters! What's up, brother? How are you, James? Thank you. Thank you for gifting people with a membership. I appreciate you. And thank you for coming in and saying hi to everyone. That was a pretty good one, wasn't it? Mothman 46. How are you, buddy? Mothman 46. Aramic. You need to study for Mothman. Wiley, how are you? John Sumner. Sumner, did you see my thank you video? It looks like Dark Water came in and gifted and blew away like the wind. Quick. Holy cow. Thank you, James, if you're here with us still. I love you, brother. My friend seen a Dogman in Kentucky. It watched him. Aaron Williams. That's pretty cool. What's up, DL Hemingway? How are you, brother? My friend, a truck driver, saw many lizards. You didn't see it? I thanked you for the coffee cup, brother. Appreciate that. Dwight Atwood, how are you, bud? He was here, Rod. He pops in periodically to show his support to me. Maybe I'll put together a lot lizard book some night. Pops, thank you, and have a good night with you. I hope you stay and listen. I'm doing well, Tina Marie. I'm doing well. How about you? Life is precious. I'd gift it to you, Aramic. You wouldn't have to buy it. I'd gift it to you. If I ever do one, I will give it to you purposely. I don't know tonight, John Rodriguez. I'm not sure. Appreciate that, Aramic. Appreciate that. Zilla92, thank you again. Thank you. Appreciate you so much. We're almost at 100,000, guys. We are almost at 100,000. Can you believe it? I never thought it would be possible. Ever. I want to put Dark Waters James, because James has kind of changed the format of his channel. I want to put him and Sean Atwood together, because I think Sean and James would make one hell of a fucking video together. They would be amazing. It did happen fast, G. It did happen fast. I can't believe it. I have never thought it would ever be. Thank you, Sonny. Arabic! Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. I got a story for you over here somewhere. I know I got one here. I got a flying one. Oh, actually, I got to share this one first. This one's fucking creepy. And I literally thought, I was like, these guys are going to love this story, because it's black-eyed kids are terrifying, but toddlers in general are fucking creepy. There's nothing worse than a fucking toddler that is a monster. Like, kick it. All right? I know you're not supposed to kick children, but if it's a monster child, then it's okay. I would kick. So, as a precursor, my grandmother's home was originally a coal camp house, 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, living room, and a kitchen. As a child, her father died in the mines he worked in, and they got a large amount of money. They built onto the home. Many paranormal things have occurred here. The most troublesome thing that has continued occurring is the appearance of a toddler-sized entity. It doesn't look transparent or ghostly. It looks as real as you or I. It has bright red hair and a toddler-sized body. What is unsettling is that it has adult facial features. The first time I saw it, I was 14 and coming into puberty. One day, I was sitting in my grandmother's living room. It was just me and her in the house. Out of my peripheral vision, I saw it. It crawled from the edge of my vision from behind my chair and just crawled to the center of the room. It stopped in the center and turned its head to me and smiled. Then it crawled into the hallway, and upon looking at it, was nowhere to be found. Its occurrences follow this pattern. It never speaks, just never crawls directly towards you, just crawls around. Only way. It only happens if there is a woman in the house. My grandmother's come into a room after I looked for where it went. I know I was sickly white. I can't explain the feeling that overcomes you when it happens. Frozen in fear, pure terror, and my mind almost felt clouded with confusion. When she saw me, she said, "So you finally saw it." She explained that all women in the family see it every now and then, and that it won't hurt me. She warned me not to approach it or speak to it when you see it. Just see it and ignore it. According to her own mother, saw it as well, and herself and my mom. I'm 21. I don't know a lot about our family history, but I'm wondering if anyone has experience with these entities of this kind. I know that our ancestry is largely Irish/Scottish, but not much else. The thing only happens in her house, thank goodness. Dude, can you imagine you're like sitting there and you're in a chair, you're like watching TV at your grandma's, and all of a sudden a little redheaded fucking thing crawls out of nowhere? You're like, "Durr. Tyler, how are you?" What's up, Obese? How are you, buddy? Black Pilled, how are you tonight? Almost back to normal. It could be a leprechaun. I didn't think about that, Aramic. I didn't think about that. But they talk, so ugh. I'd still kick it. I would still kick it. I don't care. I'm kicking it. What's up, Andrew B? How are you? Here you go, Aramic. This one goes out to Aramic and his research on the Mothman. He will eventually prove to us that the Mothman does exist. He will write the greatest book known to man about the Mothman. During the fires that consumed Mount Charleston, Nevada, my parents drove out to the mountain when the roads were clear. They described the wildfire to be running around the car as they drove through the open road. My dad told my mom to stop the car. He got out and started to walk through the desert. He realized that the wilderness is running, including snakes and other deadly animals. He witnesses moose and elk in the distance that are looking at him but walking off and running in the distance. Rabbits and other wildlife. He gets back into the vehicle. Both of my parents and his father described seeing a tall man crouched down in front of their car, wings draped over his back. As he stands and faces them, its wingspan is wide enough to cover the entire 2-lane road, lifted off the ground in 4 swooshes. He is described as muscular, 6 to 8 pack, broad shoulders, arms, legs, but the face was mesmerizing. They couldn't describe his face. It was not human. It sounded like a man bird. The Mothman was a topic of discussion for them to decide if it was a Mothman or not. Anyway, that was my parents' experience. Aramic, waiting for that book. What's up, Bruce Bissell? How are you, buddy? 59th. How missed you? Charles Widmore, how are you? High Strangeness, how are you? Billy Bells, how are you? Eric Cruz, how are you? Mothman is my private airline. You got a little fucking little saddle that you harness up on the Mothman and put on your chaps and crack ass. When I was in my early teens, my family and I moved into a cabin owned by my father's boss for a whole year. He worked at a logging mill in northern Minnesota, about 100 miles from Canada. The cabin was a few miles away from the mill. Other than a gasoline generator located in a small shack outside, we had no electricity, nor running water, or any modern amenities. I was no stranger to the forest or nocturnal forest adventures at this point, so living here wasn't so bad from the outside looking in. But the first sense of this place you get is a strong sense of being watched and the absolute dead silence. These two factors alone would remain a 24/7 norm at this place. In the sense that this atmosphere never really changed unless it was storming, to the point where, while me and my siblings were at school and my dad at work, my mom would hide away during broad daylight because of the sense, and describing hearing what sounded like someone jumping or crawling on the sheet metal roof occasionally. To the main course of the experience, most of my experiences there came at night, more often than not. I would always be the last one asleep. When this would happen, there would be shadowy figures at my window outside of the living room or outside of my bedroom window. I remember so many nights where I would be paralyzed with fear, true fear, feeling this figure gaze on me with an almost telepathic sense that this figure was communicating with me with a language of emotions. There were many opportunities for me to be taken alone, but I can't remember a ton of what happened on my 1.5 mile walks from where the bus would drop us off. For the longest time, my dad, he was a seasoned hunter and a former linebacker in high school, never believed me as a kid until one night he asked me to dump the sink bucket outside. I refused because it was dark and that those things were out there. He scoffed it off, having a few drinks in him, led me out the front door. I held the bucket and got 2 feet out before something heavy booked it through the forest like a bulldozer from right outside the door, sending my dad back inside and pushing me. Another instance we had was with my younger brother while exploring the game trail. We were approaching a cutout in the forest for power lines when something screamed at us, and my dad got us out of there. A scream that mimicked a woman screaming bloody murder, but with the ferocity or power of an elephant. It went right through you like the strongest dose of infrasound possible. Another strange event to my dad. Oh, and every morning my mom would start the generator so we could get ready for school. And before she would, something would smack the generator shack and take off into the forest, scaring the hell out of my poor mother. Thank you for allowing me to share. Can you imagine that? Like, that'd be so fucking scary. Like, you living in the woods. Like, one, it'd be kind of cool to live in the woods. I don't know. I'd need internet so I could hang out with you guys, you know? But, like, shit. What's up, Jason X? How are you? Yes, this is live, Crystal. That's on your end if you can't see, dear. Try to restart it. Or are we sharing we're sharing the woods with the creatures. We're going into their neck of the woods. You know? Thank you, SDL. I can't wait until my hair is back. Jack Morrow, how are you? Shalom, how are you? Shalom. Sham, Sham, Shema, Shema, Shemai, Shemi, Shemi, Shemiam, Shemiam. Shemiam? Shemi. Am I saying that right? Shemiam? Shemiam. I think I'm saying it right. What's up, Howell? How are you, buddy? I think I said your name right. I apologize if I didn't. It means heaven in Hebrew. Did I say it right? I knew a girl named Shemi. Shemariah, her name was. Yeah, Shemariah. Shemaim. 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 Ah, thank you. Shemaim. We don't pick on people, Paul. That's not cool. That's their name. Be nice. I knew a same girl, same name. Blonde hair, blue eye. I did too. She's blonde hair, blue eyes. It is Jewish, Aramaic. It is Jewish. That's why they said shalom. Well, thank you, S23. Black Queen Jax, how are you, dear? I knew 4 non-blondes one time, too. Fucking knee slapper. What's up, Biz? You know who I haven't seen is fucking Libra. Where is my girl? Aramaic! Thank you, brother. Yes, I vape a Jewel, Emily. Wings. I'd rather have Aramaic flop his big wings and his big nuts at me. There's another knee slapper. All right, this one is in my backyard pretty much. Rita, how are you? What's the weirdest cryptid out there? I don't know. I've only seen one in my life. The Dogman is the only one that I saw. So Alan Howell, thank you so much, brother. Appreciate you. The weirdest, I don't know, the one that makes me think the most, cryptid wise. I mean, they all make me think a lot about them. The chupacabra. The chupacabra to me is probably the weirdest because there's 2 different versions of the chupacabra. There's a canine version, right? And then there's a reptilian version. But they both are known as the goat sucker. So probably the chupacabra to me. Yeah. It's just a fucking weird, like. Yeah, in Central and South America, there's a reptilian kind of one. Crawler. Rake is a creepypasta. Crawler is what the real name kind of is for him. The reptilian one is probably the one it resembles. It's smaller, it's bipedal, but it moves. It's bipedal and quadruped. It's got a spiked back with a tail, usually green in color. And then the canine almost looks like a bald thylacine with a big maw of a mouth. and Forrest Gallant, who is a wildlife expert, has an amazing theory on the canine chupacabra. So, yes, 100%. The goat man of Kentucky. Yep. And Texas and Maryland. James Moses, how are you, bud? Does canine walk biped? Canines can, like dogs can, but not long. There's been definitely the chupacabra in Texas resembles they have both. They don't have a third, they have both. There's one that looks like the canine and one that looks like the reptilian. There's only the two. I don't know about the Oklahoma octopus, Colin. There are some cryptids that I just don't buy. You know what I mean? Like there are some that are just like, meh. You know, like the cryptid poster I have right here. I can't take it down, but let's see. One that really is a goofer. I think, okay, 31. 31, Colossal Clyde. Colossal Clyde is a large fucking whale, supposedly, that lives in, what would that be? Colorado. Go figure, right? Snellygaster is awesome. I like the Snellygaster. That's German lore, but I think they exist. Or did. And I think what they are is like a pterodactyl or pterosaur. All right, so this one is from my backyard, pretty much. I'm going to try to make this relatively short, so I'm not the only one for believing in cryptid lore. All right. My partner and I live on the border of upstate New York, not far from Whitehall. One night, my partner was taking out the garbage and came back inside startled. I mean, looked really shook up. They said they had seen a creature that looked like maybe a fox or coyote, but then it stood on its hind legs, and they booked it back inside. Fast forward about a month, and I'm outside on my porch smoking a cigarette and enjoying the stars under a crystal clear sky. We have a small plot next to our house that is a tow-behind trailer, a landscape trailer, permanently parked on it, about 20 feet-ish from the house. After a while of standing outside, I get a sudden and intense feeling like something is watching me. Just that primal feeling of danger. It should be noted, like most people up here, I am usually carrying a gun on me for coyote, bear, and they're fairly common up here. So I kind of do it for four-corner check on my surroundings. When I look over to that trailer, I saw there was something the size of a large dog lying in the grass. Mind you, it's a clear night with not quite full moon. The grass was uncut long, but not like a meadow. If I'd estimate, I'd have to say 7 to 9 inches. So I had a pretty good view of this thing. Now I know never to approach a random animal bedded down for the night, so I kind of just watch it for a second. Even in the light of the moon, its outline and coat are pitch black, blacker than anything I'd seen before, unnaturally contrasting against the ground as it lied there. Then it looks up, its piercing red eyes. I'm thinking, oh, fuck. I put my hand on my revolver. I ain't about to be this thing's food. And then it stood up. It fucking stood on its hind legs. The only way I can describe the legs is but with the torso like a hybrid of a man/canine. It was taller than me, and I'm 6'1". It didn't even need to take a step. I flicked my cigarette at it and ran back inside, locked and bolted it up. and I spent the rest of the night wondering what it was that I saw. Now, I will admit, I am a religious man, but that thing did not fit the description of any jinn I had ever heard of. It's to this day one of the few things in life I cannot explain. We've installed security cameras since, but now a lot is under construction and we haven't seen it since. I don't know what I saw that night truly, but I intend to find out one way or another. Wouldn't you think Dogman? Like, it's fucking, you just described a Dogman. like, you know Bigfoot in Whitehall, so you obviously know about Dogman because you probably went to the convention like me and Shackleneck did. So wouldn't you think Dogman? Like, they perfectly described a Dogman. It stared up with its fucking red eyes. It looked like a dog. It stood up. It's taller than 6 foot. Maybe it's a chicken. No, it's a fucking Dogman, you idiot. And then to flick your cigarette at the damn thing. Wouldn't that be cool if it picked it up and puffed on it, though? It was like, thank you, motherfucker. That'd be great. Thanks, Sarah. he flicks it. He's like this. He's like, does the old round the back flick. Dogman picks it up, little red rocket hanging out, saying, get over here, boy. Rockin' steady. What's up? How are you, buddy? Dogman stoners. All of a sudden, the Dogman starts singing hits from the bong. I don't like werewolf movies. I don't like anything that desecrates cryptozoology, to be honest with you. And Grace, it's not saying that I just don't, because this is literally all I do every day is research these things and think about these things. So I like scary movies. I just don't like cryptid. Oh, no. I like The Descent. I love The Descent. And to me, those are crawlers. I just don't like Dogman movies or werewolf movies because I don't think they accurately depict what we see. ATD, how are you? All right. Is it time? I think it's time. It's been that time. All right, so I'm going to give you guys a choice. I have the Earl. I have Earl. Or I have Lizzo. You guys decide. Earl or Lizzo? Earl or Lizzo? Aaron Mook, thank you, brother. Earl is always back. Earl is a permanent member. Earl, Lizzo. We're kind of tied up. Earl, Lizzo, Earl. I think Earl wins it. Earl wins it. We're just going to stop right now. We'll end the night with the Lizzo, but this is Earl. Here we go. All right. You guys ready? Earl, Big Rig Johnson. I'm sorry. You guys got to know where my fucking head is when I'm writing these. Earl, Big Rig Johnson was not a man easily spooked. He hauled everything from nitroglycerin to live chickens across the country. Wrestled a raccoon for a bag of Doritos in West Virginia rest stop, and once outsmarted a particularly aggressive toll booth operator in New Jersey. But nothing, and he meant nothing, could prepare him for the night he met a butt-probing alien. Earl was cruising down a desolate stretch of Nevada highway, the only sound the hum of his 18-wheeler, and the mournful crooning of Johnny Cash on the radio. He'd just finished a double cheeseburger the size of his head and was feeling content, if a little gassy. Then the radio crackled, died, and the entire truck vibrated like a washing machine full of bowling balls. He looked up. Hovering above him, silent and menacing, was a UFO. Not the sleek, silvery kind you see in the movies. This thing looked like a rusted-out garbage can lid with Christmas lights duct taped to the sides. "Well, butter my biscuits," Earl muttered, gripping the steering wheel. He'd always been skeptical of the alien lore, but now, staring at this bizarre contraption, he was starting to reconsider his life choices. Suddenly, a beam of light, strangely reminiscent of a gas station convenience store laser pointer, shot down and enveloped his truck. The engine died, the lights flickered, and Earl felt himself being lifted, seat and all, right through the roof. He landed with a thud on the cold metallic floor. Before him stood three beings. They were short, green, and vaguely reminiscent of an overgrown asparagus spear with oversized heads. Their eyes were huge and black, and they wore what looked like repurposed dental bibs. "Greetings, Earthlings," one of them squeaked, and his voice reminded Earl of a rusty swing set. "We are Zergonians, and we require your assistance." Earl, still reeling from the abduction, managed to grunt, "Assistance with what? Changing that flat tire, your flying garbage can?" The Zergonian ignored him. "We have been studying your species for quite some time, and we are fascinated by a particular appendage." Earl raised an eyebrow. "Appendage? You mean my chin? I get a lot of that. It's a real conversation starter." The Zergonian twitched one of the green stalks. "No, Earthling, we refer to your posterior egertus point." Earl's jaw dropped. "My what now?" Another Zergonian, who was fiddling with a device that looked suspiciously like, "We are most intrigued by its texture and function." Earl stared at them. He couldn't believe he was hearing. These aliens, these intergalactic butthole enthusiasts, were abducting him from his rig for a rectal exam. "You got to be kidding me," he said, finding his voice. "I haven't even finished my taxes yet." The Zergonians remained unfazed. "Resistance is futile. Prepare for probing." That was it. That was the last straw. Earl, fueled by a potent mix of outrage, half-digested cheeseburger, and a deep-seated aversion to alien probing, snapped. "Oh, you want to probe something, huh?" he roared, ripping off his trucker hat and waving it like a weapon. How about I probe your asparagus head with my size 13 work boot?" He charged, swinging his hat wildly. The Zergonians, clearly unprepared for such a display of terrestrial aggression, squeaked in alarm and scattered. Earl, emboldened by their fear, began improvising. He threw a handful of loose screws he found on the floor, tripped one of the Zergonians with his boot, and even managed to swat another with his trucker hat, knocking off its dental bib. The third Zergonian, seeing his comrades in disarray, grabbed the turkey baster-like device and aimed it at Earl. "Prepare to be analyzed." Earl wasn't about to let that happen. He dodged the device, grabbed the nearby fire extinguisher, and unleashed a blizzard of foam. The Zergonian, blinded and sputtering, dropped the device, and Earl snatched it up. "All right, Greenie," he said, brandishing the turkey baster. "How does it feel being on the receiving end of this thing?" He didn't actually know how the device worked, but the sheer terror of the Zergonian space was enough. The aliens huddled together, whimpering. "We surrender," the lead Zergonian squeaked. "We underestimated your butthole defense strategies." Earl, breathing heavily, lowered the device. You're damn right you did. Now, get me back my rig, and don't let me catch you within 10 light years of my posterior again. The Zagonians, tripping over themselves in haste, quickly returned Earl to his rig. The beam of light retracted, the engine sputtered back to life, and the UFO, looking even more pathetic than before, limped away into the night sky. Earl sat in his truck catching his breath, his trucker hat askew. He ran his hand over his backside, half expecting to find a probed mark. Nothing. He shook his head, chuckling. He fought off aliens and saved his butt, and lived to tell the tale. Well, that was different, he muttered. Reaching for the radio, he switched back to Johnny Cash, a little more appreciative of the familiar sound. And from that day on, Earl Big Rig Johnson was a legend. He became known as Butthole Defender, a protector of truckers everywhere against the insidious threat of intergalactic probing. And every time he saw a strange light in the sky, he gripped his trucker hat a little tighter, ready to defend his, well, you know. After all, a trucker's got to do what a trucker's got to do, even if it means fighting aliens for the sanctity of your rear end. I don't care. That one was damn good. And the only reason why we do it is because, well, yeah, there are female dogmen, 100%. See, I think about what we talk about sometimes, you know? So, like, we've talked about how aliens always want to touch our booter holes, right? So I was like, well, what does Earl do this week? And I'm like, fucking Earl. I'm like, Earl is going to fight aliens that want to touch his butthole. Now, I'm wondering what kind of alien would want to touch Earl's butthole. Because, well, ML and Donner, I've done uploads with dogmen reproducing and stuff. Thank you, Zilla92. Appreciate you. Kyle Kincaid, how are you, buddy? Tim. Randy Man. Oh, I need a regular Coke. Yes, John Sumner. Yes, he did. M. Allen, look for Ohio. There's an Ohio one that I did about 6 months ago. Mr. Rollins, why are you angry faced? Have you read the? No, I haven't read the book. I'll have to now, though. I upped. Remember last week I told you? Well, I upped it. It's a little bigger this week. I think I'm only going to go to. I think I'll go to like a 2. Oh, it's 50 out now. Wow, it's getting warmer. I am addicted to Coke. Right, Arabic? Dude, that book is great. Dense fog. I myself enjoyed a nice Coke back in the day before I was sober. Okay. I lived in the same Midwest Great Lakes state my whole life. This experience is actually my earliest memory, and I'm looking for some insight. I was very, very young, maybe 3. One day, my mom was baking a cake, and I ran into the kitchen to see the cake being pulled from the oven. I'm not sure if it's relevant, but in my memory of this, I'm basically astral projecting, like I saw myself run into the kitchen. When I reach the oven, I zoom back into my body and I'm being excited toddler. I put my hands on the hot oven. After crying and sitting on the couch with my hands in a bowl of water, I calm down and start walking down the hallway to my parents' room. The lights are off in the room, and as I am walking, I see something peeking from behind the door. It looked almost like a really messed up version of Dobby from Harry Potter, or Doobie from Harry Potter, with huge pointed ears and massive eyes, and it was stark white, almost glowing. I was a little scared, but for some reason I said hello to it. It hissed at me and ran away. Now, I would have ignored all of this if I hadn't had recurring dreams about it for the next decade. A few times a year, I would have this dream and the details would change, but I always knew it was going to be this dream because I had a horrible feeling of dread every time, but I couldn't wake up. The goblin would disguise itself as either one of my cats or its stuffed animal, and then suddenly transform and strangle me. I would wake up feeling like something was really choking me. The dream stopped when I was maybe 13, and I'm not sure why. I've had other normal memories of that house, all that my parents have confirmed, even what show I was watching that day. When I told my mom about this years later, she dismissed it as a twisted memory of one of our cats, but neither of our cats ever hissed at me without reason, and they were all very sweet. I'm now 21, and I still don't know what to think. Here's what I think on that. So I think that all little kids, we all have a sight. We all have that sight as kids. And that's why I think it's very, very good. A good parent will listen to their kids, because I remember seeing weird shit. Like, I remember that time when I knocked on my attic door and something knocked back, yet the attic door was locked from the outside going in. And then a couple days later, or that later day, a couple days later, that door was open. And me and my mom were only home. We came home. We had to call my uncle, who was a police officer, and they couldn't figure out how that door had gotten open. But I know something was in that attic that time. I think as little kids, we all had that sight. And as we grow older, we forget about that sight, So maybe that's why he stopped having that dream at like 13, and just kept that memory, because I will never forget knocking at the attic door, having it knocked back at me, and I looked up at that bolt lock thing that was up there. I couldn't reach it, Yes, COVID denier. I've been to the Conjuring house. I've captured videos of the crooked neck lady. I've played with Ouija boards. I've got almost all of the paranormal equipment. I really done a lot in my life. I haven't used the dowsing rods. Maybe we'll use them tonight, Delirium. Good call. I won't play with a Ouija board because I believe my cousins, you're new to this channel, M. Allen, so my cousins are all dead from a Ouija board, and I got diagnosed with a terminal illness shortly thereafter. So I think that's a big reason. Conjuring House was insane, man. Holy shit. And I don't care. If you guys have watched, you guys can watch. I'm small, and I'd rather be a small channel for the rest of my life, But the one thing that I am most proud of is the research I do in that trip to the Conjuring house in the video me and Isabel caught of the crooked neck lady. Because nobody, I don't care, I've watched most of the videos out there of the Conjuring house, and nobody has caught any kind of proof like that. And it's just like my channel is underviewed and underrated, I guess, but I'm happy with that. I'd rather have it be. But you guys know what I'm talking about when you've seen it. It is fucking creepy. It's called My Night at the Conjuring House, Wiley. Actually, it's really called My Night at the Whorehouse with only $20. No, it's My Night at the Conjuring House with Isabel. It's a cool video. It's a really good. The short is on my TikTok, I think. Yeah, I think I have it on my TikTok account. I know it's TikTok, but I call it a TikTok just because I like to fuck with my daughter. I spent the night there, Tim. Me and Isabel spent the night. It was just me and her were there. It was a really good night. It was actually really interesting. He probably did it purposely. I just say TikTok. I literally fuck with my daughter all the time. Like, I'll just like randomly, she'll say something and I'll be like, is that? And I'll be like, purposely just play an idiot just because I like to. Mr. Jeff, I can't tell you what to do, but I'd ask you not to imperil you and yours by using. I haven't used a Ouija board in a long time, and I won't ever use a Ouija board again. The reason why, and I've shared it on the channel, I've shared it in the live. I'll just share it really quick. If you've been with the channel for a while, I brought you guys to the barn. If Janie's still in here, she'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Mexican Coke burp. All right, so my family, pretty much the back side of the town was called Jacobyville, which is on my mom's side of the family, her last name. And so that part of the town was like owned by my family. There was just a ton of farms there. And the barn it was my great uncle's barn. And my great uncle had my cousin young or old. Old man Mel was 72 when young Mel was born. So, and he died at 95, my great uncle. Now, when I was 13, I didn't have any siblings. So Mel was my brother, technically. Like, he was my older brother. I looked up to him. You know, he taught me about metal music. He picked on me when I listened to Beastie Boys, but he always supported anything I did. And I always worked hard at the farm. We always so in the summer, we would bust ass all day long. And then we would hang out in the barn and play with the Ouija board. I don't know where the Ouija board came from. I have no idea. It just showed up one day at the barn. And so we'd play. We had these old milk crates and we'd sit on the milk crates and we made a table and we'd play. And it was always me, my cousin JR, my cousin Mel, and a kid named Nikki. And they were all older than me. Actually, JR was the oldest. He was almost 20. I was 13. Mel was about 17 and Nikki was 17. And so it's the end of summer. Fall is coming. It's starting to get a little chilly at night. And we're like, all right, the pigs were just having piglets. So inside of the barn, there was pens for the sows that had their babies. and we'd put the sows in there before they had their babies so they'd be warm. So we're getting ready for the night. We clean out the stalls, the stanchions, everything's clean, the gutters, and then we get everything set up. The last thing we have to do is hay the cows. So what we do is we say, all right, we're going to play with the Ouija board for a little bit. Then we'll get the hay bales. I'll lift Jeff up through the hole, and Jeff will throw him down, and then we'll call it a night. So we play with the Ouija board, right? And this is before the internet. This is before, and I've told this story a million times. So it's my cousin. We've been playing this Ouija board in this one spot of the barn for almost 2 months straight. And the sow that was right next to where we sat every night, it gave birth to its entire litter was dead. Its entire litter, which is a rarity. My cousin thinks it's going to be a good idea to put blood on the Ouija board. So he puts pig blood on the Ouija board. And we play with now, mind you, we were all idiots. Like, we thought we were badass wearing Slayer shirts, listening to fucking Slayer and fucking Brujeria, and we were idiots. Great music, but we thought we were fucking cool. So we're playing with the Ouija board, and it kept spelling out O-Z, 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 O-Z. Switch it around, Z-O, 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 Zozo, right? We had no idea what Zozo was, so we're making jokes. We're like, Ozzy? Fucking Ozzy's talking to us? Oh my God. And we just kept pissing off whatever entity we were talking to that night. And the question just kept getting worse and worse. And it said, my cousin JR said, if you're here with us, make yourself known. And strangely enough, there's a piece of plastic at the back of this barn. And like I said, like if you've been with the channel for a while, the video's on my channel. The plastic is still there. This face appears in the plastic, like a fucking demon face. And we're all like, what the fuck? And we keep playing because we blamed it on the wind. So then it says we're all going to see the hounds of hell and we're all going to die. And we stop playing. Now, mind you, I don't know where the board came from and I don't know where it fucking went either. I have no idea what happened to it. Okay. We get done. I'm getting cold chills like on my arms right now. We get done. And my cousin, there's a trap door between the two levels of the barn. Upstairs was a hayloft. Now there's no lights up there because it's such an old barn. And my great uncle didn't want any fire because if there was a fire, that place would go up quicker than shit because it was so dry. And it was just old. And so they had me go up and it's pitch dark up there. Now, the one good thing is there's a front sliding door and a ladder in the front or the back of the barn. And then on the opposite side is another door that opens up. It swings open to the pig pen outside, an outside pig pen. That door was open, and the front door or the back door thing were open, so you could see right through. There was some light coming through, right? So I'm doing my business. I'm talking to my cousin who's down there, and I'm like, all right, how many bales of hay do we need? And I think it was like 3 or 4. So I chuck one down. I chuck another one, and I got to walk a little ways off to the side because I didn't want to pick up a bunch right here. So I hear this like scuffling behind me, and I'm like, what the fuck? And I turn and I see like a figure of a human, and I thought it was JR. And I'm like, knock it off, JR. And I like yelled it, like, knock it off, asshole. Like, fuck you, don't do that. Don't scare me. And I hear him downstairs, and he's talking to Nikki. And I stopped, and I'm staring at this thing, and it starts to run at me. And I literally, the only thing I could think of was just jump through the hole. And I just jumped through the hole, and I fucking hit the concrete. I remember my elbow hitting the side of the gutter because it was all concrete, and it fucking hurt so bad. My cousin Mel is like, what the fuck? Because I just fell through the fucking hole. And I'm looking up. And as I'm looking up, he looks up. And we both see this hand, like, trying to get me. It doesn't go all the way down. It only goes out of that hole, like, that far. We all fucking run out of the barn. And now Mel is tough. Like, he's farmer tough, you know? Like, he's a farmer, you know? Like, fucking tough. But even he was scared. So we run up to the house. My dad and my uncle go down there with guns. And they go up. And they don't find anything. What they do find is this weird kind of nest. Like, not a nest, but it looked like someone or something had made, like, a little fucking room with hay bales up there. It was weird. So that night, we don't want to be separated. So we sleep. My cousin had the whole downstairs was his bedroom. So it was like a big living room with a bedroom. And we all fucking crash out. There's 4 of us. And I'm sleeping on the couch. Nick's on a couch. Melvin's in his bed. And Jay's on the floor, I think. So we all fall asleep. And I remember everyone wakes up except me. I slept through the night. But they all said they had, like, dreams of hellhounds. And I didn't. A couple years go by, and my cousin JR dies first. He gets cancer and dies like 3 years later. Melvin is working on a tractor trailer, and he had the brakes were on. Everything was set. It was up on a thingy, and it rolled and crushed his head. And Nikki is fucking, he's emotionally dead. He's a male prostitute in California somewhere with probably every venereal disease known to man. And I got diagnosed with a rare blood disorder and did almost die. And that's why I don't play with Ouija boards. So. All right. I've casually found an Italian article from the 1990s, a report about something incredibly happening in the peninsula of Malaysia in the 20s. It happened in peninsular Malaysia, Uluslim area, to Sakaya Orang Isli local hunters. First, it should be noted, they have their own version of Bigfoot, the Jarang Jigi, also known as Orang Moas, a black and reddish blonde 10-foot orangutan-like creature, most likely Gigantopithecus or the orang pendek from Sumatra. It's Florida's relative size. However, this encounter is not about them either. Now, this is what happened. One night in the Eula Slim village, 2 wild men broke in and kidnapped 2 men. The village hunters took their blowguns and followed them. However, they soon found the half-devoured cadaver of one of the tribesmen. Horrified, they went along to find a cannibalistic ape man. They found the creature while it was consuming the other one, and they attacked. One of the 2 creatures fled. The other was taken off guard and was dealt by a killing blow from a likely poisonous dart, and a little later fell down to its death. What the Sakaya hunters found was truly remarkable. It was not a giant ape. He was 6 to 7 feet tall, man-like creature with lighter skin than the local people, long black hair, and hairier than the average body. But most importantly, he had a 6-inch monkey tail. it was not the first time this nearly human creature was found in the area, even though they are rare compared to the Garangaji. They are said to have, unlike humans, large brow ridge and no chin, but also, unlike apes, a fully bipedal posture and rudimentary clothing in form of waist cloths made from tree bark and such, but apparently they are not formally distinguished by the locals with their own name and thus conflated with the Jirangiji. It should also be reported how the Jirangiji itself, the Malaysian Bigfoot, is said to be bipedal and occasionally said to have a short monkey tail as well. What could that wild man have been? Nothing from the hominid or Pungidae family have ever had a tail, and it is a rare malformation because many bipedal ape-like individuals of the area are said to have short tail. It comes to mind the Vanera from Hindu mythology, originally a forest wild man, later wrongfully believed to be magical, a divine race of sentient monkeys who, in spite of their nigh-human appearance and human intelligence, had a tail and apparently beastless. Yee. This happened in maybe 2015 in Ohio. I'd be 16 at the time. My friend and I were walking home from a local park on the side of a somewhat busy street. Suddenly, I saw a glimpse of something something sprint across the road and over a guardrail ahead of us. The other side of that guardrail is a steep hill with densely wooded area. He asked me if I saw it, and I was even more creeped out. He saw it as well. And we both described almost the exact same thing. It looked bipedal, but seemed to be running on all fours, had what looked like grayish white hair all over its body, and was fast as hell. We got up there where it would have been in the road and saw nothing on the hill or in the woods below. We kept looking around, but saw no sign of anything before we just agreed that it was really weird, and we kept walking. First sighting, July 2019. I was on the phone with my boyfriend in rural Arizona. I was sitting in my truck at the time, parked facing my house to the east. With him and I, we would have been on the phone till one of us fell asleep. This night, it was him. It was around 10 p.m. After I tried multiple times to wake him up to see if he was asleep, I hung up. After the call ended, I felt this feeling like I was going to see something scary and tried to shake it off. I looked behind me to the west. Toward the northwest is a lot with a giant street light in the middle of the property. In the area between the lot and my house is a ditch with some more space filling with that in the middle. But from the darkness, I saw this being come from the ditch, and in contrast with the bright background of the lot, it floated and glided above the ground, it seemed. Made were really smooth and didn't have any motor movement like a normal thing would. I was looking at it astonished. I was seeing its claws, its arms weren't like normal arms. They were fluid, almost like tentacles, but it looked like water, and its tentacle arms moved like a wave. The movement it glided was very fast as well. I was super scared and never experienced anything like that. I called it the Fluid Man to my family. I still see it when I think about it. My second sighting, my sister, October 2019. My sister, at around 10 p.m. on a Friday night, went outside to get some air, since the wood stove can get a little hot when it's filled with wood or coal. She went outside and then opened the door fast to tell me to come and sit. I sit on the table across the living room into the kitchen. When I ran over, she said the thing was gone and that she saw something rise up from the ground like a zombie above the ground 20 to 30 feet in the air. She made the movement of its rising from the ground in an upward motion, very exaggerated, which made it seem creepier. It was in the same area. It was in the same area as the last time, since if you go out my front door, it's looking west. She said it started flying after two people walking west on the road going the same direction. My sister is a very hard-headed, stubborn person who is not scared of much. She's super courageous and will do anything to keep us safe. She never shows emotion and keeps strong from like my dad. Her and I have special relationship. So I've seen the real her more than anyone. She is my best friend. However, I never seen her that scared and alarmed in my life. It scared me too cause it's something I've rarely seen. Both experiences were scary and it was weird they happened within months apart. I always hope that I never see it again. This happened 2009 to 2011. The people in this experience are myself, my ex-girlfriend, who I will call Penny, and my friend, who I'll call Kyle. These are not their real names. I don't feel comfortable sharing them online. Just to pick up her cat from the vet at around 5 at night one night. Winter in the northern Midwest, it was getting dark at around this time, and it was already a bit of a drive to and back from the vet, because my mom lived out in the country and the vet was in town. At any rate, we went and got the cat without issue. And after we dropped it off, myself, Penny, and Kyle were going to go see a movie. We got back to my mom's house. The sun had already set for the most part, and it was quite cold. Kyle decided to help me carry the cat inside while Penny kept the car running to keep the heater on. Kyle liked talking to my mom and wanted to see her before we headed back out to the movie. Well, we're walking up to the house, and both Kyle and I stopped because both got this weird feeling at the same time. We figured this out later when we were talking about it. The house was in front of us. My mom's yard is behind us. It's a big farmhouse, so had a sprawling front yard. We both stood still. We felt frozen to the spot by this weird feeling. And I looked first and saw something standing behind us in the yard. And then Kyle looked too. The thing had to have been well over 7 feet tall because of how tall Kyle was, and it was bigger than him. It had a hulking shape with more of a mass on top than the bottom, like a hunchback, which kind of just tapered off into the shadows. So I don't know about its legs. The whole thing was pitch black, even in the dark. It had no eyes, no discernible features whatsoever as far as facial features go. But I could tell it was huge and very angry. There was just a feeling of I was getting off of this thing, that it was mad. The only discernible features about it were it had horns, massive horns, like antlers sticking off of its head, and a hunch in its back seemed to be lumpy, irregular shape sticking out of it. But because it was so dark, I couldn't figure out what it was. Neither of us heard the sound from it. It just stood there in a menacing look for minutes. Couldn't have been that long. Kyle unfroze me from the spot, and the two of us darted into my mom's house and delivered the cat. We waited a bit, but after looking outside, didn't see anything anymore. And after talking to my mom for a bit, we ran back outside, and Penny put on the gas, and we got out of there. We never saw it again, but to add a little background on my mom's house, it has always been haunted. The house that's standing there now was newer built. The older farmhouse that had been there previously had burned down and killed a young boy, a mom, and the older daughter. She said the house blessed on several occasions and nothing ever sticks. Friends who stay in the house have reported weird shit happening to them as well. And when I lived there, I've also experienced some odd things, but this was the only time this happened. The house is situated in Indiana near Sugarloaf Mound, which is used by the Miami natives in Indian prehistory. Oh. Hey, Belly. Did she text me? No. What's up, buddy? Did she say she was going to bed? Isabel, let's see. Hi, buddy. Oh. Moose! I love you too, baby girl. I'll see you in the morning. All right. This guy wrote this an hour after this experience happened. This experience happened July 1st of 2021. My cousin and I are heading home from Montana and heading through the Black Hills. I had picked out a spot to camp in the NF and planned on setting up camp in the back of my truck and sleeping. So I just set a pin for what looked like a dead-end road to sleep. We pull up to the main road and get to the spot probably 2 miles back, 43.7345.108, negative 103.946.1558, and we notice there is a logging operation going on. So I pull off the side of it in case they are going to be working on a Saturday. I shine my light around the perimeter and don't see anything. So we're setting up the bed. My cousin hears this bang that sounds like smacking his stick on the excavator beam or whatever hard metal was out there. So he looks at me and says, "Did you hear that?" And immediately after he said that, we heard a second bang. We decided to get the hell out of there. So we pack up our shit and drive out of the area where we heard the noise. So I pull up and open the window and shine a flashlight to the area, which is a hill. And we see 2 sets of eyes. The space between the eyes is probably 6 to 8 inches apart. And they are both clearly looking at my vehicle. One was about 6 feet off the ground, while the other was maybe 4 feet taller than the other. So I reverse it because they are moving around, and I yell out the window, "Hey, who's there?" We don't get a response. Ended up getting the fuck out of there. Ended up concluding that it was probably standing on some sort of equipment, but I am not sure what those eyes were. Please help. I'm going to talk to locals and rangers tomorrow about what happened. All right. We'll do the last lot lizard story of the night. And then one last experience of the night. All right, here we go. This one is about Lizzo. This one is dedicated to all of you. The air hung thick and heavy with diesel fumes and desperation at the Big Gulp truck stop. Neon sign flickered, promising cheap coffee and clean showers, the definition of clean being extremely subjective. This was Lizzo's kingdom, her greasy, asphalt-stained domain. Lizzo was definitely not your average lot lizard. For one, she was built like a linebacker who discovered a penchant for funnel cakes. For another, she possessed a charisma that could charm a rabid raccoon. Tonight, she sported a sequenced muumuu that shimmered under the harsh fluorescent lights, and a smile that could melt the asphalt. "Howdy, fellas," she bellowed, her voice surprisingly melodic, considering its gravelly timbre. A gaggle of truckers, weary from hauling everything from frozen peas to questionable taxidermied squirrels, turned her way. Their eyes widened with a mix of apprehension and, well, curiosity. "Evening, ma'am," drawled a skinnier trucker named Earl. I always got to put Earl in. Nervously adjusting his trucker hat. "Just passing through." Lizzo winked, a gesture that caused several sequences to detach from her moo-moo. "Passing through is for amateurs, darling. I offer experiences, unforgettable experiences." She leaned in, her voice dropping to a considerable whisper. "Experiences that'll make you forget all about a little darling waiting home for you." Earl's Adam's apple bobbled. He looked at his buddy Cletus, who was currently attempting to extract a rogue French fry from his beard. Cletus shrugged, a gesture that seemed to say, "Why not? My marriage is already on thinner ice than the coffee we call Java here." And that was all it took. Lizzo, in a triumphant giggle that sounded suspiciously like a hyena gargling motor oil, led Earl and Cletus to her private suite. A suspiciously large RV parked in the far corner of the lot, adorned with questionable airbrush murals of unicorns and vaguely menacing dolphins. Inside the RV was surprisingly cozy. String lights twinkled, casting a soft glow on the leopard print wallpaper. The aroma of stale popcorn mingled with the potent blend of pop poopery and something that smelled vaguely reptilian. Lizzo offered them lukewarm cans of generic cola and launched into a story about her modeling career in Reno, a tale so outlandish and filled with improbable plot twists that it would make Stephen King blush. Earl and Cletus were captivated. Lizzo was a force of nature, a whirlwind of sequence, innuendos, and strangely compelling bad jokes. They were so engrossed in her tales that they barely noticed her subtly guiding them towards the back of the RV. That's where things got weird. The back of the RV was dominated by a shimmering gelatinous mess, vaguely resembling a waterbed, but pulsing with an unsettling, organic rhythm. "What in holy," Cletus stammered, his eyes wide on this primal terror. Lizzo chuckled, a deep rumbling sound that shook the RV. "My little secret, boys. Now, who's ready for some relaxation?" Before either of them could react, Lizzo grabbed Earl and, with surprising agility, shoved him headfirst into the quivering mass. A muffled scream followed by a disconcerting slurping sound echoing through the RV. Cletus, paralyzed in fear, could only watch as this gelatinous mass rippled and churned. He knew with a certainty that chilled him to the bone that Earl was no longer enjoying his unforgettable experience. "Your turn, hun," Lizzo said, her smile widening, revealing a set of surprisingly sharp teeth. Cletus, fueled by adrenaline and the sheer terror of becoming strawberry-flavored Jell-O fodder, he scrambled out of the RV and ran. Not walked, ran across the truck stop, back parking lot, his boots pounding against the asphalt, his lungs burning. He didn't stop running until he reached his truck, slammed the door, and peeled out of the Big Gulp, leaving a trail of tire smoke and shattered dreams in his wake. He never looked back. The next morning, the Big Gulp truck stop was buzzing with rumors. Earl's truck was still parked in its usual spot, but Earl was nowhere to be found. People whispered about a strange woman in a weird RV, but nobody dared to get too close. Lizzo, meanwhile, was sitting in her RV, humming a jaunty tune as she polished her sequence moo-moo. She patted the quivering gelatinous mass, which now seemed a little pinker. Another satisfied customer, she cooed, winked at this airbrushed dolphin on the wall. Time to find another trucker with a hankering for adventure. The Big Gulp truck stop, it seemed, was about to get a whole lot more interesting. and a whole lot less populated. The legend of Lizzo the Lot Lizard, the devourer of truckers, had begun. And it was only a matter of time before the next 18-wheeler pulled in, lured by a promise of unforgettable experiences, and driven straight into her sticky strawberry scented trap. After all, who could resist the siren song of the sequenced moo and a smile that could melt asphalt, especially when that smile hid a secret, a powerful appetite? Okay. All right, I'm going to sit here for a minute and hang out. Ugh. Ah. Ugh. Is everyone having a good night? What's up, Clint? How are you? My night as well. Thank you for asking, Mr. I can't read the rest of it. It looks like the last part says sushi, though. Guys, I got my passport today. I got my passport. My passport finally came. I'm so happy. I was stoked. Bryce. All right. What's up, Bryce? How are you, buddy? Tonight has been good. You got the emails I sent you. Stacy Mathis. Did I respond to you to tell you I got them? Because if I did, I got them. If I didn't, I didn't. I don't believe I did them. If I don't recall. Let me check. Checking my starred. No, I did not. They're not in my starred thing, so I did not get them, dear. It's weird. I'm sorry. Okay, so my whole thing is I really feel I know it's a passport, and like there's people that have them, but it was kind of like you got to think of who I am, like who I was before I started this channel. Yes, I've been researching this crazy shit for 30 years since I had my first encounter, but I was also a fucking junkie, I loved to read when I was high. Like when I was on opiates, I was fucking reading constantly. The only thing I did. So I really didn't have like any ambition other than raising my daughters and getting high, and working, to support my daughters and my habit. I was a weird junkie. I didn't steal from people, and I didn't, you know what I mean? Like I fucking worked and just did pills and heroin. But I never thought I would accomplish much. And in next year, I will be 10 years sober. So next year I turn 50. In 2026, I will be 50 years old and I will be 10 years sober. So I will never, ever be sober as long as I live. Like my drug use from when I started using opiates till when I quit, I will never add that. I don't think I'll live that long to add, you know what I mean? But my plan is that I want to celebrate my 50th anniversary or 50th birthday, my 10-year anniversary, and I'll probably have 100,000 subscribers before that, but I'll add that in with it. And I want to go to Japan to Suicide Forest, and I want to go hiking in there because I really think there's something there that does something to those people. Yes, people go there because it's, scary or, they want to hurt themselves there or whatever. But I really think there's a force of something that summons these people there. I will never, ever do a Logan Paul and film a dead person, but I want to go there. to Japan and just, enjoy the culture. I've always been fascinated by Japan. Enjoy the culture. And just have, 2 weeks there, and then I'll be happy. And then I'll never probably travel again. But for that, I will, you know what I mean? Well, I don't need a passport for that, Clint. But my passport I got because, you know what I mean? So yeah, I'll go to Australia. My favorite car released in Japan and Australia. So maybe I'll go to Australia so I can drive one of my cars. So variety is rewarding. Like I called my dad when it came today, and I was like, I am so fucking happy. Like I can't believe it. Thank you, Clint. I appreciate that. I'm like, I cannot believe that I got this. And it's like, it sounds dumb, it's an accomplishment for me. It's a small accomplishment for me to get a passport, but to me, it means something, it means I didn't fuck my life up with I could have been a fucking loser junkie and fucking did some criminal shit, but I never did. So I was able to get a passport, and I never thought I'd get a passport. If someone told me 10 years ago, because in April, I'll be sober for 9 years. So if someone said 10 years ago to me, in 1 year, you're going to get sober. And within that 1 year, you will have a YouTube channel, and you will have almost 100,000 subscribers, and you will have fun. You will have sole custody of your daughter. And this is your life, you'll fucking do everything that you love to do and live your life happy. Because I have depressing moments, but I'm fucking happy most of the time. I would be like, no. And I owe it all to being sober. Thanks, Mark Preston. Wait, is Haunted in here? Is Jimmy in here? Yes, I've done a Dogman story from Japan. Veronica Breedlove. Someone said Mr. Haunted. Where's Jimmy? Jimmy! What's up, brother? Oh my God. Do you guys know we are here with paranormal greatness right now? Paranormal greatness. Thank you, Zilla. Mr. Haunted, camera guy for the Warrens. You know that little Chinese kid that bangs the hot girl in all the Warren movies? In all the Conjuring? That's Jimmy! But for real, that's him. And if you guys, he's got 2 amazing books. Phantom Messages, which is exactly what it says, like phone calls from the dead, letters from the dead, this from the dead, that from the dead, and The Origins of Mr. Haunted. And he's got a lot of cool pictures from like cemeteries and such. Just a fantastically fucking nice guy. Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you, Paul. I appreciate that, man. I really do appreciate that. Thank you very much, Paul. Yeah, that's my daughter. My daughter pops in and says hi. Don't call them Rugman. It's my favorite car that got released. So Sonia asked. I love rotary engines. My favorite car is the RX-7, but my favorite car that I want to drive is the Mazda Eunos Cosmo, which is it's a 21B rotary engine, twin turbo, 400 horsepower in 1994. They're the greatest car ever. Is that on the video, bud? Is that on the video? Isabel Maria. Yeah, okay. Guys, in my Conjuring video, my daughter just texted me a picture. At 59 minutes and 28 seconds, there's something else that we caught. And it is a fucking, like a scary face peeking around a corner. Isabel found it, which is really cool. For that belly button. I love you, baby. So that's another crazy thing. Thank you, Jimmy. That's another crazy thing that I caught at the Conjuring house. My Conjuring video, and I am not tooting my horn because I don't think I have a great video or a great channel. Like I have a semi-mediocre channel. But I think my Conjuring video, me and Isabel's trip there, literally was the best video of the Conjuring house. Like I think we did the greatest fucking thing. 59 minutes and 28 seconds. Yes, 59. Thank you very much. Exactly, Paul. I used to read crazy books. When I literally got high, I would read like one of my favorite books that I ever read was I read all Cormac McCarthy books, but I would read like freaking Thomas Wolfe and shit like that, and like just books that made you think. Like I read a book about like a party being thrown for the Black Panthers in like 1960s and 70s at like some fucking elite building and shit in Washington. The James Orwell, I just weird. I was a weird dude. What's up, Ginger? Me too, OG. Me too. I love Law and Order. Oh shit. Never That Talks. I've heard of the werewolf that talks, but never the dog man. But they're two different things. Tigger was here earlier. I love you, baby. Tigger was here earlier in the night. Yeah, St. Patty's Day is on Tuesday. I get my teeth on Tuesday. I get my permanents put in. So I'll be able to eat fucking steak and shit and an apple. I cannot wait to eat an apple, and I won't have problems with my S's anymore. Yeah, it is, buddy. That is weird. All right. This is the last experience of the night. The weekend of 10/11/24, my friends and I set out for camping at Lake Kegasana State Park in Wisconsin. While finishing up some geocaching on a hiking trail near the outhouses, we encountered something strange. You can enter the trail after crossing the path of another trail that enters the forest. The trail we were on circled the prairie that led into the middle of the trail that was surrounded by the forest. Thank you, Erica. The sun was low in the sky. It had been roughly maybe 6 p.m. The sun was just above the tree line, and we started our hike. As we were at our last geocache of the night, the sun had just gone behind the trees and was beginning to get dark, but we could still see without the assistance of our flashlights. The forest went silent. No more sounds of bugs around us or birds that had been active all day. It approached us with a whistle, a bone-chilling whistle. Our entire group went silent, and no one said a word until we heard the second whistle. The second whistle was more broken up than the first. And in a slightly tipsy state I was in, I thought it had to be a human whistle, as it was not perfect. To that I responded with a pretty stern hello, hoping for an explanation as to why our group got whistled at twice. I thought you were dogs, a voice said as it rounded the trail towards us. As he passed our group, I noticed I could not make out the face of this person, but chalked it up to nerves and being distracted. As a group, we agreed while it was a strange encounter, we should not panic, but took it as a sign to get off the trail. This is where it gets even more weird. All four of us in the group kept our eyes peeled for anything as we made our way back to the car, when suddenly the creature, calling it a creature as it surely was not human, suddenly appeared on the edge of the trail closest to the woods, staring blankly to the field in front of it. That would have been to our right, and in flattest, driest tone, it said, "Who's that guy?" Everyone in our group kept walking as I answered, "The same guy from earlier," as I assumed it was talking about my boyfriend who was behind the group. We had never been so silent in the walk back to the car, checking behind our shoulders and surroundings constantly. We made it back to our campsite where we decided to do the time of the day. It would be best to wait and pack until morning. While we were debriefing our experience, I told my friends how neither encounter I couldn't make out its face. Being a female hiker, I make a point to gather facial features of anyone I cross on the trail, just in case. No one in the group could identify its face either. And in our own ways, we describe how the face on this thing was not human at all. It seemed almost to have a blurred effect over what should have been its human face. All of us seen the same thing. You could tell where eyes, nose, and mouth should have been, but there was none on this creature. Being that it whistled and was unidentifiable, we were convinced that we had encountered some sort of shapeshifter. They are just not relevant in the area of Wisconsin, such as skinwalkers. It was a long night at that campsite with the impending feeling that we were all being watched. I'm spiritually inclined and feel I took the necessary steps to protect our campsite for a secured night. But I have had strange encounters since. I'm willing to share some of those sometime if you want, Jeff. I like how that person said skinwalkers are not prevalent in Wisconsin, because they're not, but they said shapeshifter. So, shh, with the face, yee. No, thank you. Dazed and confused. Thank you, somewhere in. Dazed and confused. All right, guys. 2.5 hours. I want to thank you all for hanging out with me tonight. I had a blast. I love you all. And yes, exactly, 59th. Well, the Ojibwe tribe have something very similar, but they call it a bear walker, you know? With addiction, but I'm clean at the moment, Jeff. And this channel will help me through. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And keep up the good work, brother. Good night, Jimmy. Love you, bro. Thank you for hanging out with us tonight. Kevin, and just think, it is, I hate using old additives from AA and shit, but it is one day at a time, man. That's all you need to focus on is today. As long as you're sober today, that's it, So, and with that, everybody, thank you once again. I had a blast tonight. I'll see you guys next weekend. I'll have my permanent teeth in. I'm so fucking stoked. So stoked. All right. I love you guys. Stay safe. And there'll be an upload up in about 45 minutes. See ya.